If you've somehow managed to stumble upon this podcast, I just feel the need to clarify that this isn't this series. The first episode of the series isn't what's meant to be the main attraction to this channel. The original idea was to start was the first post the was to start it off with the first episode of what I like to call X Guys with a Discord account podcast, but I wasn't able to get anybody today, so I've decided to start a series that I'll do as like a backup plan for whenever I can't do an episode, and I've decided to call it the Solo Storytime Podcast. And the first episode is of me chronicling my time spent at TooManyGames. For those of you unaware, TooManyGames is a gaming convention that's held at the Greater Philadelphia Expo Center in Oaks, Pennsylvania. And it's a relatively small convention. To get the amount of people that showed up for this year was 120,000 people, and if you look at the attendance rate for something like Comic-Con, PAX, or MomoCon, it's significantly larger, and it takes up a lot more space. Because like the too many games didn't even take up the entirety of the expo center. It just took up a division of it. So before I get into like what actually happened at the convention center, I want to give a bit of a prologue to the whole thing, which details how I got there and the traveling that we did to get there. So, this is a bit. I'm sorry if this will come off as if I'm dropping a bit of a bomb, but in December of 2015, I was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, which is basically bone cancer, and I had to go through chemotherapy, and that ended in August 8th of 2016, and during chemotherapy, I was approached by people at the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and if you're wondering why that happened and I'm still alive, that's because a common misconception is that people make of Make-A-Wish that they only treat terminally ill children. What they actually do is that they treat children with life-threatening diseases, which was me, even though I managed to survive. So, um, so the thing I chose to spend my wish on was to go to TooManyGames, and I found out about TooManyGames via a YouTuber by the name of Some Call Me Johnny, who I'm a big fan of, and he frequently attends that every year, and I also wanted to meet him, and I didn't want to go to the convention just to meet Johnny. I did want to experience the convention, which I did. But meeting Johnny was kind of like a high priority. And now that I got that context out of the way, I shall chronicle the journey to Philadelphia from our little town of 29 Palms. So we left the house on Wednesday, and we we left the house on Wednesday, and we drove to Ontario, where we spent the night, and later flew out the morning of to Phoenix, where we met with my brother, and then we flew out from Phoenix to Philadelphia and we arrived in Philadelphia on Thursday night, and then the next morning is when we went to go to the convention center. A little funny thing about arriving in Philadelphia is that like the night we made it to our inn, I thought that I thought like Johnny and his friends were staying at our inn, and it didn't turn out to be true, and I felt so embarrassed afterwards. But now on to the main attraction of this episode: my adventures at Too Many Games. So we woke up. We actually arrived there earlier than most people because the convention lasted from Friday to Saturday, and on Friday, the convention center would open up to the public at 2 p.m. But we arrived there at like 10:30 because we were scheduled to meet John early there, and basically in addition to like getting his autograph and doing a bit of a meet and greet. I got to spend like 2 hours with him, and we just pretty much had a very friendly conversation, and we also played Mario Kart 8 on the Nintendo Switch, and it felt weird because like I had been rusty at Mario Kart, so I only got like first place on like one of those races, and I always came in like fourth or fifth the other times. I think like one of the races actually came in last place, but it was nice. It was really nice to meet him. I also took a picture with him, and like he complimented how much self control I had, because like he was glad that I like didn't fanboy or didn't like make things awkward, and yeah, I was scared that I would do something on accident and make things awkward. Yeah, it was really nice to meet him, and like later, I especially loved like when he talked about this in like his Too Many Games recap video, where before he talked about his general experience and the stuff he bought slash got donated. He talked about the time I spent with him, and it just felt really good to hear him say that about me. And then after we were done with the meetup with Johnny, we decided to go eat lunch to pass the time before the convention opened, and then the bit on Friday, I pretty much just spent my time like wandering the vendor hall and like wandering around the arcade gallery, and because on Friday there was only really like two things that I did. One was go to a thing by the name of Cosplay Pro Wrestling, which was a bunch of people dressing up as a bunch of video game characters, particularly Nintendo continually like specifically stuff like there were people there. It was primarily Nintendo characters, but there was like Deadpool, Harley Quinn, Scorpion, Ryu and Ken, that one guy from the Ninja Turtles who wears like a hockey mask. I'm sorry, I forget his name. And also there was um yeah, there was also Solid Snake, but that was for the segment that they called the Smash Bros. Champions, I believe. Because, like, basically what the Cosplay Pro Wrestling was a bunch of people cosplaying and they were doing a WWE style wrestling event while cosplaying, and they were in character as the characters they were cosplaying as. And to those of you unaware, cosplay means costume play. Just thought I'd clarify that. And then I spent the rest of my evening there at the Too Many Games DJ battle, which consisted of DJ Cutman, The Living Tombstone, and I think another guy was called like Hyper Potions, I believe. It was actually a duo, and then like this guy called Mega Mike. It was something. It had like his name had like three, could be shortened by like had like three M words in it. It was a mouthful. I didn't stay for the whole event because like I got tired. And I bought a handful of things because like I bought the Mother 3 fan translation that was in a Game Boy Advance cartridge. I remember buying a copy of The World Ends with You. I got a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure keychain, which is good, but like I was a little disappointed that it was like that it was in like a chibi art style, which I don't mind, but like one of the appeal because like it was Stardust Crusaders themed, and that was still in the moment where Araki had a very muscular art style for his main male characters, and it felt kind of wrong to have them rendered in a chibi art style, but it's fine. I'm still gonna be using that in public. Um, and that's pretty much it for Friday now. Saturday was where most of the stuff went down. So the first thing I did was go to the Thugs versus Dinosaur movie premiere, and two interesting things about that. One is the title alone sold me, and I was definitely setting my sights on seeing that. And then like on Friday, I didn't know it until I saw the movie, but like one of the guys who worked on the movie, so in addition to in addition to one of the stars of the movie, one of the costumes he's wear is like a pimp suit, and like I don't mean just like any pimp suit. I mean like purple jaguar pattern, big hat, exposed chest shirt, gold chains, and a cane. Yeah, that kind of pimp suit. The pimp suit people think of when they hear pimp suit. And he was wearing that around the convention during Friday, and I was just really confused. And to diverge a bit, one of the highlights in terms of cosplay that I saw there was that there was a guy walking around as Jesus. Like he was wearing a bathrobe. He had like an unkept face, long hair, and he had like wooden sandals, I believe. He really committed to the design. So back on Saturday, basically what Thugs versus Dinosaurs was, it was basically just like a film that was shot with absolutely no budget, and it was one of those movies that were like that were trying to be so bad it is good, and like it succeeded. It didn't take itself seriously. I know that, and it wasn't trying to be taken seriously. Um, and the story was is that like through some like Nazi related experiments, dinosaurs start showing up in the modern day, and like uh, whenever they would show dinosaurs and like any like scenes that would require a lot of action and spectacle, they would like switch to like claymation footage, and that was always the best. I remember like there was one guy who starred in the movie. He was in the audience, and the director said he had to cut his part out where he was essentially singing Amazing Grace for a brief period, but then it turned out he was just joking with him, and that part was still kept in. We were in a we were in a really small room. It wasn't too bad. I was able to feel comfortable, and not a whole lot of people showed up. There were three panel rooms. Panel one was the biggest. Panel two was a reasonable size as well, and panel three was just like a classroom in terms of size, and it was fine for the Thugs vs. Dinosaur premiere, but at one of the events that I was thinking about going to, but I realized there wasn't much incentive for me, was an event called the Great Rise of Lyric Sonic 06 debate, which was debating which game was the better one, Sonic Boom, Rise of Lyric, or Sonic 06, two of the most infamous Sonic games as of to date. And that was primarily a find the computer room related event, and like the reason I was considering going to is because in addition to thinking that it would be entertaining, Johnny was gonna be there, but like I had to skip out on many things just so I could stay on schedule. Because like I was considering going to the cosplay contest, but I wasn't able to because I conflicted with one of the panels I was going to, and Saturday was the busiest day for me in terms of like stuff to go to, like panels and such. So the convention, the panel I ended up going to instead of the cosplay contest was the Gaijin Goomba Q&A, and that was really fun being there. I do kind of think it was worth actually skipping the cosplay contest to go to that. I'm pretty sure I can find it on YouTube somewhere. And the other panel I went to was, well, actually, one of the things I was going to do is that like Smashadelphia was hosting their Smash Brothers tournament, and I had signed up to do the Smash Bros. Wii U. Smash Bros. Wii U singles tournaments, and funny thing, I had no idea that I had to bring my own controller, and they only had like a GameCube controller peripheral available, so like I had to buy myself a GameCube controller from the vendor hall. Yeah. Oh, and, this is something I did on Friday because I thought I was Cinemassacre, the place where the Angry Video Game Nerd is hosted, was doing autographs on Saturday, where you can meet like James Rolfe and others to get an autograph, and like they had a vendor hall where they were selling like Blu-ray copies of the Angry Video Game Nerd show, and I was able to get and I noticed that he was accepting autographs on Friday, so I just thought like, I might as well save some time. And that's also what happened with me and Gaijin Guma. I didn't have to go to his Q&A to get an autograph. I got most of my autograph stuff taken care of on Friday because I got Johnny. I also got a guy called Cat Icarus, who I recommend you check out his channel. He's really good. I also got Gaijin Goomba and James Rolfe. If I could diverge onto my autographs for a bit, I also got autographs from the two. I also got autographs from Matt and Wooly of the Super Best Friends. I actually met them. I first That was on Sunday though at their autograph table, but like I met them at the after party which happened on Saturday, and it was pretty good. It had great music. We shared a table with these two guys who had been more experienced who are more in the vein of Too Many Games veterans, and like I remember like they were sitting the closest to my mom, and she had like, and from what I could tell, she had like very decent conversations, and apparently she learned a lot. And there were other panels where she went with my brother, where she apparently learned a lot about like gaming culture and like YouTube culture in a sense. And yeah, because like there was this one about like how to protect your brand on YouTube, and like how to get like started on YouTube gaming wise, I believe it was called. Yeah, so. Another panel I wanted to go to, but I can't remember if it was like conflicting with my it was conflicting with my Smash Bros schedule. It was the Super Sonic the Hedgehog Mega panel, and I wasn't able to do that, and I have no idea what that was. From what I could tell, it was meant to celebrate the the 25th anniversary of Sonic the Hedgehog, and it had like some Sonic YouTubers, like Some Call Me Johnny, and they also had like Sonic industry legends like Crush 40, John St. John, Mike Pollock, and Matt Herms. The From if I would guess, I think it was just like a general Q&A between all those individuals. Yeah. So, I was also planning on going to the Hidden Blocks autographs because I wanted to get an autograph from Jimmy Wessel, but I wasn't able to because like um one of the privileges I apparently had was that I could get to the front of the lines, but I didn't really feel comfortable with that because I've never been used to being in that much form of power in my life before, and like I wanted to use it, and I didn't really know how I was supposed to use it, and I really wanted to do it for the Hidden Blocks autographs, but I didn't really feel comfortable doing that. Yeah. And then Saturday was also included the Some Call Me Johnny live panel, and that was the one, at least in terms of Saturday, that I was looking forward to the most. It's basically where, but he started doing this. He started doing Some Call Me Johnny live back in 2015, and he also did it in 2016. And those are basically just Q&A panels for 2015 and 16. And at the end of said Q&A, he would do a game where he would ask trivia questions, and he would get a gift card. This year, I got a gift card for it was $20. It was a $20 PSN store gift card, and I used that to buy Rogue Legacy and Oddworld New and Tasty, which I really need to spend more time on. I haven't even beaten the first level of Abe yet, and Rogue Legacy, if you couldn't tell, is a roguelike, so it's not really. You can't really go too in depth with roguelikes in terms of general overviews. So Some Call Me Johnny Live 2017. What he did is that he showed off a review for Knuckles Chaotix, which was meant to be a holding pattern for. Well, actually, no. He did that because he wanted to do something a little more special than just a Q&A, and he played that video for us, and everyone was dying. Even like my mom and brother, who had barely any knowledge of Some Call Me Johnny at this point, were dying at it. I have a feeling that was a tribute to what I like to call the movie theater crowd effect, where a lot of things feel more funny when you're around other people who are laughing, especially in a giant audience. So and he after the video, he pretty much did the same thing where he did a Q&A, which he I have a feeling that a good amount of people who are at Too Many Games were there so they could meet John, because like in his recap video for 2017 Too Many Games, he said he just got swarmed with donations, eager fans, and he spent a lot of his time like just talking to individuals. Yeah. So, like, I wasn't able to get my question in. I can't even remember what I wanted to ask him. Well, actually, no, I remember. I wanted to ask him, since Some Call Me Johnny Live happened after the Supersonic the Hedgehog panel, I wanted to know what went down there, and yeah. One thing I forgot to mention is that, like, on Saturday, yeah, it was Friday, the day I met him, he later tweeted out saying that he felt honored that he was able to be his chose him to be his Make-A-Wish, and he wished me that he wished me a good Too Many Games. And interesting thing, like when we were wrapping up our conversation before we went to go eat lunch on Friday, he said he felt like a one thing that surprised me is that he felt like a piece of crap that someone spent a wish on him to travel all the way from Southern California to Oaks, Pennsylvania, and like that just felt so odd. Because if someone did that for me and was I would feel incredibly honored and touched, and I guess it just showed how humble and down to earth he is. And it was weird. It was kind of weird meeting him in person too, because like it was great, and like it was great. I have a feeling I complimented on his production value and his videos, because in addition to like the picture quality being so good that it felt like I believe it didn't feel too awkward meeting him in real life. The same could be said about his audio. When I heard him speak, it felt like I was hearing him in a video. And in addition to taking a picture with him on my personal camera, his uncle also took a picture, and he shared that. I believe he shared that on Twitter. Yeah, he did. And yeah. I'm a bit ashamed. I'm a bit sad. I'm a bit I kind of wish I went to more concerts aside from just the DJ battle, but I didn't really know many musicians there. And like I kind of regret not going to the Mega Ran concert, because like he was part of the Cosplay Pro Wrestling, where it was a tag team fight between Wario and Waluigi and Mega Man and Mega Ran. And I caught a glimpse of him at his concert, and he has really good flow. That's all I can really say. And the after party, it was all right. I don't really have any major problems. That's where I met like I said earlier, that's where I met Matt and Wooly of the Super Best Friends, and they didn't seem interested in being at the. I don't think they were there for the after party. I think that's actually where they were staying at, because like there was still stuff to do at the convention when the after party was going on. So they just pretty much like stopped by, picked up a couple of beers, and they were on their way. And like I met up with them, and I took a picture that was not really good, but like after some touching up, it was decent enough to post on Twitter. I later got a better picture with them on Sunday when I went to the autograph table and got my autographs for me and my friend Elijah, who is a really big fan of them. And the after party, yeah, it was alright. Wasn't really anything spectacular. The music was good. It had a bar. That's all you can really say. It had a very underwhelming assortment of food, because like they had I didn't I technically ate a Philly cheesesteak when I was in Philadelphia, but the Philly cheesesteak I had wasn't really what I considered a Philly cheesesteak, because what it pretty much was a bunch of like grounded roast beef in a bun, and you yourself had to put cheese sauce on it. Like, it wasn't melted cheese, it was cheese sauce. The only. I mean, it could have been worse. It's not like you had to put cheese whiz on it. And the food there was edible. That's all I could really say. Yeah, the food was just edible. I mean, the desserts are really good. They had like an assortment of cookies, and they had my favorite oatmeal raisin. I remember telling this. I always tell this to everyone whenever I bring up oatmeal raisin cookies, is that I hate raisins, but I love oatmeal raisin cookies. I think they're even like my favorite kind of cookie. And I was telling that to the people who we were sharing a table with, and he was and they were all like, seriously? And I was like, yeah, I always get that reaction from everybody whenever I talk about my love of oatmeal raisin cookies and my hate for raisins. Yeah, the only memorable thing is that some of the music they were playing was from Crypt of the Necrodancer, which it was a game that I thought was okay, but I refunded it on Steam because I felt like my money could be better spent at other places, because I still plan to get the game again. Uh, oh, that reminds me. So in addition to being able to go to TooManyGames, other stuff that the wonderful people at Make-A-Wish also gave to me was a PS4, and it also came with game codes for games down on the PSN, which included Darkstalkers, the first Darkstalkers, the Amnesia Collection, Enter the Gungeon, Wonder Boy, I believe it was called, Fly Wrench, Not a Hero, Hatofu Boyfriend, which I have yet to play. Well, that's because it's kind of an awkward game if people view it without any context. And it's also what else? There was the Talos Principle, which is a game made by Crow Team, of Serious Sam fame. The Talos Principle could not be any different from uh could not be any more different from Serious Sam in terms of like tone and gameplay, because Serious Sam is a chaotic first-person shooter that's very silly, and the Talos Principle is a very philosophical. Its tone is philosophical, and it's a puzzle game. And other games I bought, I actually. Uh, I don't remember, but I don't really think there were anything special. And other games I later got for the PS4 in terms of download. The only physical game I have was the bundle game, which was Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, which I don't really have any plans on playing at all. I mean, it's the copy that comes with Modern Warfare, so I might just play Modern Warfare and not bother with Infinite Warfare. And in addition to that Call of Duty game, I also got the aforementioned Rogue Legacy and Abe's Odyssey, and the purchase that I really wanted a PS4 for was JoJo's Bizarre Adventure: Eyes of Heaven. And out of all the games I own, it's tied with Enter the Gungeon with being my favorite on the console so far. So yeah, there was a lot of there was a lot of decent music that was playing. It was a decent party. It wasn't anything to get riled up about. I remember we left before it was over because, like, because the stuff that was planned was in addition to concert by A Rival and this one guy who was the drummer for a band called Anamataguchi. There was supposed to be stand-up, which I was really looking forward to, but I guess he bailed, and so it was just left up to A Rival and that drummer to essentially manage the show in terms of entertainment. Now Sunday, since I had the least amount of stuff going on in terms of panels on Sunday, I did most of my shopping and arcade machine sampling on that day in particular. So other stuff that I bought was I bought 3 T-shirts. One was of Saitama from One Punch Man saying "okay." If you're familiar with One Punch Man, you know what I'm talking about. Then there was On Saturday, I was actually cosplaying myself because I was wearing a Hotline Miami cosplay of Jacket, and I ran into Johnny again, and he complimented me on my costume, and other people were cosplaying Jacket as well. But I don't mean to sound egotistical right here, but their masks weren't really good because like I've had that mask since 2015 because I wore it for Halloween of that year. And well, I was going to wear it on that year, but I decided to do it for October 2016. And I wanted to make it as good as possible. So what I did was that I looked for a realistic looking chicken head with like textures, because like the other stuff that people had was just like I presume that they bought the first chicken mask that they saw on like eBay or Amazon. I will admit they did have better jackets because, like, I was just wearing a Celtics jacket, which wasn't even a real Letterman jacket, but it was the closest thing to a Letterman jacket I had. So I'll give him that. I also wanted to bring a plastic bat, but I couldn't do that because the TSA would most likely just throw it away. Um, if I could derail a bit, I had an interesting encounter with the TSA when I was flying out of Ontario. So like I made the stupid decision of putting an aerosol spray can of sunscreen in my backpack, so they had to chuck that. And funny thing, they were not suspicious of my rubber chicken mask at all, and like he was flipping through this yearbook, which I had planned to show my brother, because like it's always funny to see his reactions to like how terrible a job they did on it. And like he was flipping through it, which was reasonable, so he was checking for like no hollowed out pages or anything. But like he didn't do the same thing to my Scott Pilgrim books. Well, and yeah, it was just really weird. So Sunday, so to go back to the T-shirts, there's that Saitama one, and then I got a shirt that said what's up, and then pointed to a chicken's butt, and that was actually recommended to me, because the vendor noticed my chicken mask and thought it was perfect. And then I also got a Smash Bros. Fight Club, which I'm kind of convinced kind of shrunk in the wash. Either that or it might have been like a low cut shirt. Those always bug me. And I didn't really go to many panels. Like I said, it was mostly just like a shopping day, and also to check out stuff that made me curious at the arcade floor, which I wasn't able to do much because it was so crowded in there, and everyone was like hogging the machines, especially the fighting games. But I also checked out the indie game showcase. I don't remember many names, but like I remember there was this one game where it was basically like a slower form of Hotline Miami because it was like a top-down shooter, and yeah, I can't really remember much about it, to be honest, other than the fact that it was slower than Hotline Miami. But I don't mean that as a bad thing, because it was going for a different kind of feel, and it was also rendered in 3D, while Hotline Miami had pixel art. There's also this game called Pixel Noir, which I didn't do much, but like it was either going to be like a noir style story, but it was like pixel art and it was an RPG, or it might have had the appearance of a noir but could have gone into like a subversive direction further down the line. I don't know. My favorite of all the indie games that I checked out was that of this. I don't remember the name of it, but it was a game where you multitask, and it was the best representation of what multitasking was ever. Because like multitasking does not mean that you're doing two things at once. It's basically just your brain switching on and off tasks in a seamless way to make you feel like you're doing two things at once. And that's exactly what this game was. You were essentially what it basically did is that you had to play. a different type of mini game, and it would switch off and on and off games at an increasingly rapid rate, and that actually won an award for like public choice, I believe. I don't really remember what the awards were. And then like there was another game which essentially was like Smash Brothers, only it was like in first person, in the sense that like you had to knock the person off the platform. And like the guy who was showcasing the game had a friend who was a fan of Hotline Miami, so he took a picture of me in my Hotline Miami cosplay. And I think I actually took picture. I was taking pictures of, and I took pictures with other people, I believe. And and when I say that day was mostly a spending day, that doesn't mean that like I avoided panels altogether. I went to this one panel called Improv Without a Save button, which well, it was meant to be an improv show, but the people who they had scheduled to come, the people they had scheduled to come do the improv show with, they got on the wrong plane, and their plane took them to Canada. So yeah, so what ended up being shown at that panel was them demonstrating a show that they were kickstarting called Game the Gamer, which they described as being Cutthroat Kitchen but for video games. And what they did was that like they had four contestants from the audience, and they had the same rules where where you have money and you can buy money to like sabotage your opponents, and how many money you have left is what you walk out with, and that applied to the losers as well. So they played three games, which was Mario Party 3, Smash Bros. Brawl, and Mortal Kombat 4 for the PS1. And with Mario Party 3, they had to one guy was allowed to play with a regular controller, and the three others essentially played. Two of them played with third-party controllers, and another guy had to use like a fishing peripheral, which was used for like a bass fishing game, I believe. That might have been a Dreamcast game, but who cares? And yeah, and then for Smash Bros. Brawl, they were doing the home run minigame where you hit the sack boy, and the three remaining contestants, one used a GameCube controller, the other one had to use like a Wii remote, just the Wii remote, and another guy had to use the shotgun peripheral for some of those first-person shooter games that were released for the Wii. And the remaining game was Mortal Kombat 4. There were only two contestants for this. One person was allowed to use the regular PlayStation controller with analog sticks, and the other guy had to use, which was essentially the Power Glove, but for the PlayStation. And he And in addition to that, he also had stickers on him that every time he got hit, he would receive an electric shock. And they weren't anything. They weren't anything too bad. It's not like whenever he got shocked, he was yelling in pain or anything. Yeah. Funny thing, during the Gaijin Goomba panel, I don't know how this came up, but like rap came into the mix at some point, and like one guy was essentially saying that like Kanye West was the best rapper, and he turned around to the audience and he was like, in 2004, Kanye West saved rap, and in 2020, he's gonna save the world. This guy was white, by the way. The whitest kind of guy you could expect to be saying this. I wouldn't be surprised if he was the kind of guy to say that Jesus was the best Kanye record. Uh, Uh, so we didn't. The inn we stayed at wasn't really that. Oh, I didn't. T-shirts and games weren't the only thing I bought. I bought this Lego figure, which was basically a pixel Lego figure where they used Lego bricks to construct a pixel to construct pixel art, and they did it for. And I bought the figure of Ness, which was the last one they had available, and also I got a Mother 3 poster, which I later got framed, and the poster itself is a reference to when Lucas and his partners at that given point essentially took magic mushrooms and were hallucinating all kinds of pleasant things when in reality they were like going through a bunch of garbage. There was even a point where like they bathe in what they assume was a hot spring, and in Mother 3, hot springs are places where you can recover your health and magic points. So, in their hallucinated state, they thought it was a hot spring, but it was a little weird to see like his dog didn't join him, and the reason his dog didn't join him was because later it turns out that they were bathing in a sewage pile, and that's also reflected in the way that the characters are drawn who are currently having the hallucination. And another thing I got was this hand painted painting of a screenshot from Earthbound, which had Ness, Paula, Jeff, and Pooh on it. And I also got a couple of gifts for my birthday, which were Gravity Falls related, which was this keychain of Bill Cipher and this painting, this small frame painting, which it's not bad, but like it does. I don't really think it does the characters justice. The only people who look good, regardless from what distance I am at, is of Waddles the pig and Seuss. Everyone's eyes kind of look like they're dead inside. They all have doll eyes, and their proportions are just really off. Another thing I bought was this Mega Man 2 coaster, which was spring theme. They had coasters of that of the end credits scene for Mega Man 2, where he's like doing whatever, and he's just, and like the background is like changing like seasons and themes, and like the music track of that credit scene had implied that it was weirdly somber for whatever reason. Yeah, but the coaster I bought was spring themed, so it had like the tree blossoms and such. And it's a two-sided coaster where it has the design, which is the regular coaster, and like a regular coaster on the back of it. We didn't really do much in Oaks itself. We went to like a pizza place. It was good. And we went to Jersey Mike's like 3 times over the course of that trip. We also went to a Wawa. I mostly went there because like when I was talking with Johnny, he gave a hint as to how good it was, because like he said he used to be an employee of Wawa's, and he just like kind of like did the Italian thing with his hand and saying he loved Wawa's, and so I wanted to see what it was all about, but like I didn't really get I kind of wish I got a sandwich from there, because they were selling hoagies, so that was probably a good way to judge the quality of Wallace, but I ended up getting like a Reese's Fast Break. Yeah. And we went to Buffalo Wild Wings a grand total of 1 time there. It was good. I kind of wish I was able to eat my leftover wings, but they were left in the hot car, for too long. So they had to be pitched. Overall, my TooManyGames experience was a pleasant one. I'm kind of not sure if I'll be able to do that again like next year, considering that it's all the way across the country. So I still want to go to cons. So like maybe I can go to I kind of want to go to like Rooster Teeth Expo, which is in um, Austin, Texas. I want to go there so I can like spend time with my friend Frankie because he goes there like every year, and like he could probably give me a little bit of more of a crash course of Rooster Teeth because like the only thing Rooster Teeth I related is Red versus Blue and Ruby, and I kind of feel weird not being familiar with more than just that of Rooster Teeth. So since he's a giant Rooster Teeth fan, he can give me more of a down low and also like tour me around Rooster Teeth. And then like another reason why I wanted to go there is because Your Movie Sucks also goes there, and I really like him a lot. So it would be interesting to be at a panel of him hosting a panel there. So that was this episode. So that was episode 1 of the solo story podcast. I don't. These aren't going to be weekly things because like that's what I plan the X Guys with a Discord account podcast for. Currently, at the moment, it's 2 guys with a Discord account, me and my friend Frankie, and. I don't plan for these to be weekly because these are only going to be used for as a backup plan for when I can't get anyone to do the podcast with me on that week. So, the Discord podcast that's going to be happening, I plan to have that happen every Saturday. And yeah, these are fail-safe, so don't expect these to come out weekly. And I bid you farewell for this session, and I hope to have the appropriate podcast next Saturday. See you around.